The president has been very clear that he is going to take the action necessary to secure the city of Washington for the people who live here, for all the American people and all who visit here. It's our capital city. It is more violent than Baghdad. It is more violent than parts of Ethiopia, parts of many of the most dangerous places in the world. It's really shocking if you actually look at the graph that has been shown comparing parts of some of the most dangerous failed states in the world compared to D.C. D.C. is more violent, and so he's going to do what's necessary to make sure our nation's capital is safe for all Americans.
To this story, that was top White House aide Stephen Miller saying Washington, D.C. is more violent than Baghdad. President Trump is deploying federal law enforcement for a 7-day crackdown to stop out-of-control crime in Washington, D.C. The president has said he is considering taking control of the entire D.C. Police Department. Vice President J.D. Vance tweeted, quote, "Our nation's capital has some of the worst homicide rates in the world." Joining us now, radio host, former presidential candidate Larry Elder. Larry, always a pleasure to have you on. We love talking to you. What's your reaction to this story? The president is deploying agents from the FBI, the DEA, ATF, and ICE to D.C.
Well, people point to Chicago as the murder capital of the world because of the absolute numbers Chicago has. In terms of per capita homicide list, a lot of cities in America, including Washington, D.C., are more deadly than Chicago. Newark is more deadly. Baltimore is more deadly. St. Louis is more deadly. The problem is the police have been demoralized because of the George Floyd BLM effect, which is the phenomenon of cops pulling back. And as a result, you're finding a lot of crime, but fewer arrests. And you're finding police departments all over the country, whether New York or D.C. or L.A., down hundreds, if not thousands of cops because people don't want to become cops because they're perceived to be systemically racist. And a lot of cops have retired early or transferred to smaller departments. So it's a perfect storm. It's real simple. When you make it less likely that a bad guy is going to be caught, convicted of incarcerated, crime goes up. They may be criminals, but they're not stupid.
Yeah, I mean, minority neighborhoods really get hurt by this. You know, Americans are saying it's time to back the blue. This is a nationwide crisis. You know, this comes after a well-known former DOJ staffer, Edward Korstein, was brutally attacked by a mob of teenagers in D.C. He was trying to stop an attempted carjacking. Larry, that happened near DuPont Circle. That's about a mile north of the White House. You know, the media says crime in Washington is down 35%. But a D.C. police commander is now under investigation for allegedly cooking the books and getting other officers to do that, to cook the books on crime data to make them look better in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, reportedly, the numbers have been cooked, have been deflated to make things look better. I remember years ago, Liz, there was a mayor of D.C. named Marion Barry, and he was asked about the crime in D.C. He said, well, the crime in D.C. isn't too bad other than the killings. Now, I'm not going to quote Shakespeare for you the way Kudlow did, but I will quote Tupac, who once said that we need the police more than anybody else. We live in areas where the crime is high, so we need the police more than anybody else.
We do. So listen, I want you to listen. Forgive me. I meant to say, please listen to the victim of that recent mob violence in Cincinnati. Larry, she's so scared, she's only using her first name, Holly. She talked to Fox News' Laura Ingraham about the attack which left her knocked down unconscious. Listen to what she said.
Everyone was standing around recording and egging it on and, you know, like cheering to them. And I kept waiting for the police to show up and waiting and terrified, you know. And when I realized the police weren't going to come, I could hear someone, the man that I jumped in front of, literally crying to God, please God, somebody save me, somebody help me. It was the third time he had been knocked down and kicked in his face over and over. Somebody had told me 57 times. They had counted through all the videos. And I knew that if I didn't jump in, if he had fallen down one more time, he would not have made it out alive. They have rap sheets that go on for days, and especially the man who punched me in the face, he had just got out of jail a few months before and had felonies on him. And I don't understand why he was running the streets, and a lot of other people should have never even been out of jail to even do this to me or the others. I'm disgusted at the people who were recording and they didn't call 911. The one person who did call 911 was a victim, one of the guys who had got curb stomped, and then he was able to sneak away and call 911.
You know, this is a national disgrace, Larry. The Justice Department is investigating this. The president is trying to restore law and order. Your reaction?
Well, this may very well have been racially motivated. We don't know, but I understand there might have been racial slurs. The dirty little secret is every year lives, there are about 600,000 non-homicide violent attacks between blacks and white. 85 to 90%, it is a black perp, white victim, only 10 to 15% the other way around. There's a lot of black against white crime that the media does not care about and underreports.
Larry Elder, we appreciate you. You're so smart and brilliant. Thank you so much, Larry Elder.